All right, welcome to my second attempt at the attendance problem case study for data and analysis. Here are some of the facts. The school has too many absences. This fact is brought to the principal's attention the second day right after he's been hired, so obviously this is a very important issue for the school district. 85% have missed 10 or more days in the first semester since he's been there. Teachers, coaches, counselors have been making the administrative decisions. The students and parents don't see the importance of attendance for a variety of reasons. The school district policy, which requires that the principal make the decision whether or not it's a excused or unexcused absence, is not being applied. And there are a lot of potential truancy issues because of that. Now, let's talk about the legalities. The school is responsible for the students that are enrolled in the district. The administration is responsible by policy. The teachers have been given that responsibility by the administration in the past, obviously. However, the teachers are unable to determine, and there is no consistency in how the policy is being applied. Probably because the teachers want to avoid issues, arguments with parents. Now, also, parents and students could be lying about their reasons for why they are leaving. Another question, do preachers have guardian powers? Because some of that is just questionable. And, of course, the obstinate parents that stand against having a whole amount of schooling brings up a curriculum issue. So, the synthesis: the school is suffering from excessive absences that are due to a lack of a clear plan and the placing of responsibility where it doesn't need to be, a lack of cohesion in the community. The need for additional resources is obvious. The school is supportive of change. The community at large doesn't seem to notice the issue. Some of the data that could be very helpful would be how many of the teachers and coaches are collaborating and actually getting to know the needs that the others have, and how much the students are or aren't present. Parents need to know the feeling of significance of school and what they find significant as an adult, to see if the school is actually aligned with what they consider to be important or necessary, or if it is essentially stuck in the past and therefore they are devaluing it because they don't see any real life applications. And we need to know from the students, are they satisfied with this? What kind of desires do they have? Goals? Any career ideas? Or are they simply floating along and going from football game to football game, basketball game to basketball game, and so forth? Now, the location of the school being suburban, mostly middle class, a lot of parents commuting into the city, which means a lot of lucky children involved. Do we have exact numbers? No, we don't. But could that have a impact on attendance? Well, yes, it could. So obviously there needs to be additional data in that area. Now, we also need to know more about the curriculum. The issue, since the issue seems to be at all levels of high school, and there is a very strong athletic culture, perhaps we need to analyze that a little further and see if we can't find some way to incentivize more athletes attending classes, if that proves to be the largest reason for absences. So, obviously, one, we need to inform the needed agencies about the needs of students. For instance, some of the students that may need additional support at home because of personal issues, perhaps daycare, those kinds of situations. We need to take the teachers out of the excuse absence department and get them back into the, okay, is the student in school? Is the student in their desk when they're supposed to be yes, no position, so they can move on and continue educating the children and leave the searching for the children, for the students, to the other individuals that have a little more time to do that, which requires a change in the school culture. And we need to evaluate the curriculum, get the stakeholders involved, and learn more about the community culture overall to see if we are actually aligned with it or if we need to make adjustments. So, some options: change how the system records absences, build incentives to encourage better attendance, publicize the importance of attendance to the community, or take no action and figure that the problem will eventually solve itself if we just keep looking into it and turning in truant children. I don't believe that the no action option is a reasonable possibility. So, in my opinion, the system must be changed. There need to be changes done. And it needs to start in the school and then work its way out. Changing how the teachers take attendance will make the biggest difference in the immediate system. The redesign of curriculum to accommodate career paths would be something that needs to be looked at for continued improvement and to possibly help build more cohesion between the community and the school. Not to mention, real-life applications do make it more meaningful for those members of the student body that are questioning why are they in school, because this has nothing to do with what I want to do in my life. The adding of incentives, we're going to need a lot of community support for that in order to be able to create incentives that will actually appeal to the students and will get the community again more involved in being active participants in making for sure that the students are actually in the school learning. And would turning in more students for truancy cause friction in the community that is a little too much for the community to be able to handle? Or would that bring up some other issues? I know the superintendent says that they have a very good working relationship with the truancy and the social services departments, but at the same time, is that because they use them a lot, or is that because they only turn in extreme cases and it hasn't caused a huge amount of concern or dissent within the community? Again, a little more data on that would be helpful. I think option 2 seems to be the best. It's manageable within the school, can be easily implemented without needing a huge amount of community buy-in initially, and it would give us additional data about these absences so that we could take more strategic intervention measures. What we really need is we need to know more specifics. And what we have right now are a lot of absences with a lot of varied and vague information about them. What we need is more specific information so we can have a more specific system put into place to determine what is and isn't excusable. And then all this information needs to be presented to the community to explain why the changes that we would be making to make the policy more specific and to explain exactly what the already standing policy means in place so that there are less doubts and there is a lot less confusion. So, first, we make changes to the system. We get teachers to turn in any excuses to the office for approval, encourage students and parents to do this initially, so that hopefully over time the teachers are no longer being required to put in this kind of information and simply need to be informed by the students when they will be absent and they know and it has been approved. Begin meetings with the counselors and parents to discuss issues. These would be the parents that have been identified or the students have been identified as needing or academically in trouble, and they are obviously either having an issue getting the meeting set up or the counselors just don't seem to have time. And we need to deal with some of this athletic culture because there is no reason why a student should be given additional time off just so that they can rest before a football game. That seems to be extreme to my mind. This should make the attendance system more uniform. Parents, athletes will have issues because of less lax attendance, but again, by making it more uniform, it will be more easily understood by everyone concerned, so that hopefully a lot of these sporadic absences that are beginning to add up, which is why we have such a high percentage of the student population that is absent, hopefully that number will be reduced because of the uniformity and everyone understanding where the lines are, because there's obviously some confusion going on there. Of course, the students will have issues, which could lead to a potential attendance protest where they just stay home, call in sick, or whatever, just because, well, I don't agree with this, and so I'm going to refuse to come. But that period should be over in a relatively short amount of time, if it happens at all. Initially, the staff, students, and parents, it would start with a simple restatement of the policy, which they should have had in the handbook that they signed for at the beginning of the year. You simply restate, okay, this is the policy because there have been so many absences with vague information. We are now requiring that all absences go through the office for approval and that specifics be provided so that we can better understand why the students are going to be absent. And we need to have individual discussions with the athletic director, the truancy officer. I would like to also meet with the pastor and the student who recently got married and is now having attendance issues because there may be some things that can be done to help, but they don't know it. And as far as the truancy officer, pastor, and the athletic director, I need a lot more specific information concerning some of these other issues, such as the football team, the student whose parents said he didn't have to go because they didn't go, that sort of information. After filling in the needed stakeholders, continue to assess the situation, implement additional stakes, could be additional requirements to play, incentives for good attendance, so forth. And then, of course, calling DCF and truancy if the issue is not resolved. Thank you.